What's up everyone, Sage here, back with another Bleeding Edge how-to video. And on this one we're going to be going over the new character Mekko. So let's start with his abilities. So Mekko's a ranged character, so I'm going to skip over that. It's just his basic attack is a range attack. And then his bubble block, which is his, instead of his escape-like technique like a evade or something like Buttercup where she gets a little speed boost, he gets a barrier. So it says protect yourself with a bubble shield. Absorb damage feeds the power orbs passive. So we're going to go over that next, which is power orbs. Absorbing damage with bubble block generates power orbs. Hold RT while casting specials to expand orbs for extra effects. And then his specials, Lifeline. Connect a lifeline to an ally. Mekko takes 40% of their incoming damage. Press RB to wind the ally in. And then the extra passive, grant the target a shield. Next is safety zone. Mark out a safety zone that grants Mekko and his allies armor and lifesteal. Then the extra passive is reduces healing received for enemies inside the area. And then surge forward, knocking enemies in your path. And then the extra passive is also generate life while traveling. Then his supers, sonic barrage enemies with sonic blast, dealing heavy damage and pushing them back. And then the last one is exclusion bubble, traps an enemy inside a bubble. Bubbled enemies cannot take damage, but their team can destroy the bubble. So Mekko is another tank, obviously, but Mekko is a special kind of tank. Mekko is one of those tanks that you really have to hard down defend for your team. Like, he's one of the most tank, he's more of like one of the teammates Reinhardt's, something like that, where you have to really try to protect your team over everything else in the match. So what you want to do is every time when something's going down, you want to make sure you know where all your teammates are. And due to the way how Mekko is literally the tankiest character in the game. So you want to always try to take damage for your teammates and try to protect them in some kind of way. So starting with his first ability, which is his Lifeline, what you want to do with his Lifeline is when you see an enemy attacking your teammate and say your teammate is just getting destroyed or something, or your teammate's low, or say there's something like your teammate needs help to try to get away from that enemy, you want to use the Lifeline to grab your teammate and pull your teammate away from that enemy all the way to you. And this can also be done while you're on your mount, and you want to keep an eye on how extended your cord is, because your cord, it could probably snap. And when you're traveling too far away, that's when it usually snaps, and they give you a vibration on your controller or whatever you're playing on, so you know if you're getting too far away from your teammate. So you want to make sure you're far enough so your teammate could get away from that enemy, and then you want to re-click it again to pull your teammate all the way over to you. And due to the passive that gives your teammate a bubble, when you throw it on the first time, you can drop a bubble on that teammate, and then if you press it again when you're pulling your teammate, it also drops another bubble. So you have to be careful with that sometimes, because sometimes you can use your extra passive orb to, pull your teammate to you and give them an extra bubble for no reason, because they don't need the extra bubble. So you want to get off of your bubble block and make sure that you don't use that extra power orb. So yeah, you got to remember that it will double it up if you do that. So just keep an eye on that. So it's best to always just throw up the first bubble if you need it, for your teammate, and then pull them to you. If they need the second bubble when they're coming over to you because there's another enemy, okay, that's when you use the second power orb. But you're most likely not going to need the second power orb when pulling them in, because they should be out of way of damage. So they should be good on that. And then his next ability is Safety Zone. Safety Zone is the ability you want to play around when you're in a team fight, because this should be the first thing you pop when your team enters a team fight with Mekko. When you go in there, you want to pop this safety zone in the middle of the fight where your team is. If you have a power orb and you want to, say, try to help them even more to the point of your team having a huge advantage on the enemies, what you do is you pop the power orb on your safety zone, and it would reduce the enemy's healing. And that way, the enemies, they're not going to be getting as much healing as your team would normally be getting. And that's a good thing, because then, because their healing's weaker, your team's automatically going to have an advantage on them, on top of the already advantage put into his ability, which is Safety Zone is just a great ability in general. Now, if they have a Mekko just like you guys, okay, that's when it gets more tricky because they could do exactly what you guys do. So there wouldn't really be an advantage unless you pop the power orb. If you pop the power orb, you guys will still have the advantage on top of the enemy team. So you should still be good on that as long as you use it correctly, because they can have a Mekko on their team as well. But if you use it correctly, then you can still take the advantage even if they have a Mekko. And say the Mekko probably don't have power orbs at the time, and that's where you would want to take advantage of your power orbs and pop it down as a reduce healing to the enemy team. And then his next ability is Surge. Surge is mainly used to either get away with Mekko, because Mekko cannot really just escape with evades and stuff. So what you want to do is use Surge to either get away, or you will want to use Surge to, you know, knock people away from your teammates. I use it a lot to knock them away from my teammates, because it's better to save your teammates during the team fight and mix up the enemy team, so that way you guys would still take over the fight. Because I do it sometimes during the fight just to take over and, you know, mess up the enemy team. Because when you're knocking them around and stuff, they can't really attack because they're just getting knocked away from your teammates. And as that's happening, your team will still be attacking them normally. So that will really help in a fight. And during the fight, you may be able to get it back if the fight lasts that long, because it's a 13-second cooldown time. So you'll probably get it somewhere near the end of the fight again, which you can also use to turn the fight around. And, you know, say if you guys need like an extra little bit of a push to help you guys finish off that fight so you guys can win that team fight, that's when you want to start popping that again. So Surge is a really good ability because it could really mix up the enemy team, and it really messes them up a lot, especially when they're trying to finish a teammate or something. It really messes them up a lot. Now, what I want to go over next is his supers. His supers. The first one is a really good super because it's used to push people away, basically keeping them away from your team, keeping them away from you. It's just a protection kind of super. And what it does is it just really just knocks the enemy away. It just keeps them from getting near you guys. So the main times you would want to use this is to really help your team from incoming damage or anything like that. Something to like escape or just try to get away. Just in general, just try to get away. That's the main time you want to pop this, or you want to just keep them away from say your healer or something. Try to keep your healer safe while you guys are fighting, and that's usually what you want to use the Sonic Barrage for. And it's a pretty good ultimate, but it's not better than his second. His second ultimate now is the Exclusion Bubble. This is his meta ultimate because it traps an enemy inside a bubble, and that enemy cannot do anything inside that bubble for that whole duration. And that's easily just taking one person out of the fight. So if everyone is fighting and it's a team v team fight, you can easily go and bubble the healer, because if they have one healer, you could just bubble the healer, and right there your team should easily win that fight because they have 0 healing and they have one less person. So the Exclusion Bubble is kind of a bully ultimate because it easily just bubbles one player out of the entire fight, and it's very powerful. If used correctly, this ultimate can be a big game changer. Like, this ultimate can literally just change an entire fight just by you bubbling the right person at the right time. And that will easily help you just take over a whole team fight because of the one less person and probably the no healing, probably the no tank. It could be anything. It depends what team they're running. And going off of how things are looking, you'll want to bubble somebody else sometimes. It's just be like that. So it's just good to know that this bubble is very powerful and you have to use it correctly, because if used correctly, it's an easy game changer to a fight. So that's really how this ultimate you would want to use it, and it's a very powerful ultimate, as I said again. But that's really it on Mekko. Mekko is one of the more difficult tanks because he cannot escape, and he's more of a protect your team kind of tank, most definitely. He's not one of those, you know, you run around for damage half the time and then half the time you defend, like say Buttercup or El Bastardo. But he is very tanky, and that is where he shines at. He shines at protecting his team over everything, and he is a very tanky character. So that will keep you alive for a lot, and it will just really help you tank out for your team a lot easier. So he's a very good tank. And as I said before, he is my favorite tank on this game as of right now. So Mekko, great character. But that's really it for this video. If you want to catch more videos like this and more, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you won't miss a video. And we are almost at our sub goal, and we would appreciate if you would spread our channel to your friends and family. That way you can help us out even more. And with all that, it's been Sage, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.